Hello, my friends. This is Deepak Chopra again, and we are continuing a conversation with luminaries, influencers, authors. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome the legendary Rhonda Byrne. Everyone knows her as the author of the amazing bestseller Secret, and now she has a new book, and we'll learn all about it. But Rhonda, in these conversations, what I like to do is, since I know you're famous, but not everyone knows who you are, just like not everyone knows who I am. So, can you give an introduction a little bit into your life and how you got to where you are?
Okay, so lovely to be here. Lovely to meet you, Deepak, in person. And so my life was fairly basic, just for decades actually. And then in 2004, my father died really suddenly. And my parents were madly in love with each other, had been from the very first day that they met. And so it was a real shock. And so my mother went into terrible, terrible grief. And I was in grief also. And so the year that ensued was just everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was really tough. I was working I had a television production company at the time, and we were making some television movies, and it was just the toughest year. And my health suffered, my relationship suffered. And I got to September of 2004, and I received a phone call from my accountant saying, "You've run over budget on these movies that you're making by $2 million, an amount of money I'd never had in my life." And he said, "You are going to be broke in 30 days. And in fact, you're going to lose everything, your home and absolutely everything." And so, of course, I felt powerless with that information. And I hung up the phone, and immediately it rang again. And it was my mother, grief stricken, saying she can't go on. And she was quite a distance from me at the time. And so I talked to her for a while, and then I said to her, I'll be with you in the morning. And when I knew that she was fine, I hung up, and I absolutely collapsed in despair. And all of my life I'd been fix it, fix it, fix it. I can fix all of these problems, but this was just way beyond what I could fix. And when I look back on that time, I know that what happened was I completely surrendered, because there just seemed to be no way out of the difficulty that I was in. And so my daughter appeared in front of me, my adult daughter, and she could see that I was upset, and she said, handed me this photocopied uh, photocopied paper with a bulldog clip on it, and said, "Read this, it'll help." And incredibly, within the state that I was in, I read it. And 90 minutes later, my life had changed forever. And I knew that life was not at all the way that I had thought it was up until that time. In fact, I felt it was the opposite to what I had believed it to be. I knew that we were eternal. I knew that had the ability with our mind to be able to create the life that we wanted to create. And that book was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, written in 1910. And we have that book for free on our website if people want to download it.
What's the
Um,
author's name again?
uh, oh, Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles.
Oh, yeah, I've read it. Yeah.
Yes, you were. It's a very small book, doesn't take very long to read. And so, but the incredible thing, Deepak, was when I read that book, knew things that were not in that book. But I knew a lot of things, and I thought they were all in the book. But when I read the book later on, I'm like, none of those things that I knew after I read it were in the book. I just had this incredible surrender that took place. And so when I read that book, I didn't tell anybody about what I had realized. And I just did solid research for 3 months, nonstop, going back through time and going back through history and looking for this knowledge wherever I could find it, through traditions and religions and all of those kinds of things. And until I got to a place where I absolutely knew for sure that I understood this completely, and the power of our mind and thoughts to create the appearance of things in the world. And so from there, I felt that most people in the world didn't know this. I had looked at my life and I realized that I had talked and focused about things that I did not want, and that many people did the same thing. And so I was just determined that I was going to find a way to share this with the world. And I had a production company, and somehow or another, and don't ask me how, I went to my accountant and I said, I've discovered something incredible and I'm going to make a documentary and take it to the world. You just have to keep me alive and afloat until I can do that. And so I basically put everything I had on the line to create that documentary. And we released the documentary, we made it, and we were practicing the principles while making it. And then it was released and it just took off. Like it swept the world like crazy.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that. And now you have a new book. It's called The Greatest Secret. Tell us about what's new about this and how it expands on your previous work.
Well, Deepak Chopra is in this book, along with many other incredible beings that are in the book, very special people to me, because everybody featured in The Greatest Secret is somebody who has changed my life. So in one way or another. And so it's really The Greatest Secret is my journey from The Secret to now. For me, it's the sequel to The Secret. If you look at the last chapter, the last two chapters of The Secret, I talk about the fact that we are not flesh and bone, that we are much more than that. And I speak about the presence and awareness actually as well. And so I feel it continues on from there. So the Greatest Secret reveals who we really are. And there are many people, I'm sure, that listen to you and they already know it, but there are also a lot of people in the world that do not. And it also gives practices to help us be who we are, consciously be who we are, and live our life from that place, a life um, that cannot be described with any words. And even though I know I've been reading Total Meditation, which I've been loving, Deepak, and really enjoying the way that you speak in there about the kind of life that we can have when we are living from consciousness or awareness. And so there are practices in there that I used myself uh, over a period of a bunch of years, and they are what I found helped me the most in terms of dissolving, allowing negative feelings to just be there. And I noticed that you talk about that too, not trying to change them, not trying to fix them. But there's a lot in the book about not resisting negative feelings. And what I do is I welcome those feelings. And I noticed you use that word as well in your book. And so that if somebody only did that one thing in the book, for me, then their life would gradually change, because as the negative feelings dissolve, they would become freer, lighter, and more conscious, more aware. And so the greatest secret is the path to be free of negativity and to live a life as who we really are, and a life that is full of happiness.
So I noticed when you were speaking earlier, you said with our thoughts, we can change what appears in our life. And that is a very important uh,
Distinction.
yeah, what appears in our life, because thoughts are all magical lies. And everything that appears in our life is also a magical lie. In that
That's true.
perceptions are always uh, untruthful. My senses tell me the earth is flat. Nobody believes that anymore. My senses tell me the ground I'm sitting on is stationary and I know it's spinning at dizzying speeds and hurtling through space at thousands of miles an hour. My senses tell me that my body is solid and I know it's a changing, intermittent stream of sensations, images, perceptions, feelings, thoughts, and even the fact that my body looks like what it looks like is a magical lie. So every perception is a magical lie, every thought is a magical lie. Feelings are a little closer to the truth, especially when we get very, very, very subtle feelings like empathy, compassion, love,
Mhm.
joy, equanimity. But I'm curious right now because you mentioned what's his name? Wattles, Wallace Wattles.
Yeah.
And I think he just has one sentence in his book where he talks about the invisible non stuff. Say a little bit about what inspired you with that little one page that you saw and what inspired you from
Ye-
what
yes, he does talk about, you're right. They refer to it as mind stuff,
Mhm.
is what they refer to. And that mind stuff you can mold and shape into whatever you want through the focus of that. And so he covers, I think, visualization in that book quite a little bit. Also gratitude, which is probably one of the things that affected me the most. But and I noticed a lot of those writers at that time, around early 1900s, did refer to mind stuff. It was a phrase that they used. This mind stuff that could be molded, that can be molded into whatever you want. And so just through the focus and the attention to it and the visualization of having images in your mind, and always it was about that there's no time, and so the images had to eliminate time. And so if somebody wanted something, they had to imagine themselves with that. um, so it couldn't be something that was coming in the future. So time was eliminated, but they didn't explain why time was eliminated, and really in so many ways space was eliminated too, in the way that they wrote. But they didn't talk about the fact that space was eliminated. And so the really amazing thing for me was in writing The Secret, and then traveling on a journey where I was just so dedicated to finding more of the truth, to reach the point that I did, that I could see why you had to visualize that you had it already, that there was no separation between you and what you wanted to have, was all because there was no time and space. And of course, and then I realized, but it's not even that hard to manifest, because it's only an image. It's not this solid real thing like we think. Oh, we have to manifest something, and it's solid, and it's in this physical world out there. And oh my gosh, that's going to take a lot of work, and that's super, super difficult to do. But no, it's just an image that you're creating. That's all it is. Yeah.
Here's the key. I think I'm very glad you discovered this on your own, but in the wisdom traditions, any sensation, any perception, whether it's sound or color or shape or form or taste or smell, any sensation, any perception, any image, any feeling, and any thought that you have, they're all entangled. So, the sensation and the thought and the feeling and the image and the perception are entangled. And when you talk about solid things, like if I look at this thing, it appears solid, it's an object from a physicalist point of view, but it's a perception from a consciousness point of view. This is a perception. It's a human perception, and therefore this is actually already a modified form of myself as
Yes.
perceptual experience. And
Yes, yes, yes.
in fact, there's nothing solid in the world anyway. It's
No.
all made up. Like money is made up. It's a human construct. Wall Street is made up. Banks are made up. Nation states are made up. Greenwich Mean Time is made up.
Yes.
Latitude is made up. Longitude is made up. Nation states are made up. Capitalism is made up. It's all make believe. We are
All
fiction.
make believe.
We are fictional characters in a collective dreamscape, and what you're manifesting is part of the dreamscape, and that
Yes.
includes your own body and your mind are also part of the dreamscape. So when
Yes.
these old books say everything is mind stuff, of course they mean it's made of consciousness modifying itself as mind, which includes thoughts, feelings, images, etc. So once you understand the science, you also realize that this has been there for ages. In the tradition of yoga, there are 8 limbs to yoga, 8 limbs. The first is yama and niyama, the first two, rules of social and ethical and personal conduct. The third is awareness of body, as we do in the yoga
Mm.
practice. The fourth is awareness of breath. But these are physical. After that, what you get into is very interesting. Pratyahara, which means going inward in the direction of the true self. And then 3 things: dharana, which is focused attention to anything, to an image, to a feeling, to a thought, focused attention. And then
Ah,
dhyan, which is meditation. And then samadhi, which is transcendence. So once you have this combination of focused awareness, then also you have the flow of meditation, which means letting go of the outcome and settling into your true self, which has infinite organizing power. Everything is already manifest, past, present, and future is already there in timeless now. The key, though, here to understand for
yes.
anyone who's listening to us, that the whole thing is part of a dreamscape, and your
Yes.
true self is none of that. It can modify itself into these experiences, but the true self is spaceless, timeless, and doesn't have a location in space or time, and therefore it's eternal. Now, that is indeed the greatest secret, which everybody should be aware of.
Yes, and that was so beautifully said. That was just absolutely stunning. Yes, stunning, really beautiful. I mean, the whole kind of setup of everything is just extraordinary. The more that you understand the truth, the more a miracle it really, really is it not? That it just the way that everything appears, and it appears solid, and it appears, and there doesn't seem to be a flaw, in any of it. Like it's just seamless, this kind of appearance of this so-called world that is out here, out there, that is separate from us. But the truth
That appears
from,
separate from us.
pardon me,
That appears separate. It's
that
not.
appears, yes, absolutely, absolutely, thank you, yes. And
Appears,
so for,
but
yes,
it's
go ahead, please.
a differentiated expression of our own self.
Mm, yes, exactly. For me, for the journey has been one of deeper, deeper happiness and joy with every step that I've taken. Expansiveness, just the most beautiful feeling of expansiveness and freedom. And the other thing that I've noticed is the weakening of fear, and things that would have made me fearful before. I feel no fear for things. I can't remember when I felt fear for something or anything. And so, and I know this, your work, Deepak, that you've been doing so brilliantly for decades. And so I'm kind of the new kid on the block, so to speak, compared to all the incredible work that you've done. But it's just overwhelming to me to try and reach people that would not normally at all have consider any of this, and to try and reach them and touch them, to say to them, there is a life that you can have that is just beyond anything that you can ever imagine.
So,
And
what can people expect from reading this new book, The Greatest Secret by Rhonda Byrne?
Um, it has a lot of revelations in it. And so if somebody came to it and they were thinking that there is a world outside of them, and if they were thinking that they're a separate being that is born and a human being and that's born and dies, and that everything is real and solid, then there are a lot of revelations in there that will just really, really wow them, because none of those things are true. Um, and so I think without a doubt, to be free of anxiety, worry, uncertainty, stress, fear, all of those things that can bring people asunder. So to be free of suffering, this is the only direction you can go in to be free of suffering, is to know who you are and to be living from that place. Uh, and in exchange for anxiety and stress and all of those things is happiness and freedom and a joy that is just with you every day, no matter what is happening in the world, is just to wake up, uh, well, wake up, but wake up in the morning, but not really wake up, but to wake up and just to be filled with joy and sense of freedom, and just to know that absolutely everything is fine. Everything is fine.
I'm speaking to Rhonda Byrne, who's the author of The Greatest Secret, previously the legendary successful documentary, The Secret, and the great book. And Rhonda, you're reaching a lot of people that I couldn't reach because you've made things understandable at every level. So, congratulations on that. You know, in the tradition that I come from, the wisdom traditions I come from, wealth is measured as abundance in every center of awareness. So abundance, everybody's heard of the seven chakras, but
Mhm.
these are centers of awareness. So the abundance at the first center of awareness is total security and safety. Second center abundance is total sensuality and joy at the sensual experience of existence. Center number three is the center for transformation, total abundance to transform into anything you want.
Wow.
Center number four, heart,
Wow.
abundance in love and compassion and empathy. Center number five, abundance in creative expression. Center number six, abundance in insight, intuition, creativity, higher consciousness.
Wow.
And center number seven, infinite abundance. So the science of getting rich is, of course, talking about material abundance. But unless we have all these aspects of
Yes.
abundance, we're not really rich in the
No,
true
that's right.
sense of the word. And you do imply that in your book and you talk about it. So I'm very
Yes.
grateful that you did all that. And it's a great book. I've seen excerpts. I've read the manuscript
No,
you
thank you.
sent me before you asked for
Yes.
the book. So wonderful.
Yes.
Let me know what's your website? What website should people check in?
It's the website is thesecret.tv.
The secret dot.
Dot TV, yes. And by the way, Wallace Wattles' book
Yeah,
is not at all about material things.
yeah, I
It's
know.
yes, it's like being rich in life is was what he was talking about. And
I agree. And you
yeah.
do it very
Mm,
elegantly in the book as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
any last words for our listeners? This has been very enjoyable. I'm reminding everyone to check out the website, the secret.tv. Is it?
TV. Yes, it is.
The
Yes.
secret.tv, right?
Yes, thesecret.tv.
Dot
Yes.
com, dot com after that.
No, 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 .com.
Secret.tv. And the
.tv, yes.
greatest secret, which is no longer a secret.
No.
So, any last words
No,
for
it's
our audience?
well, um I would just urge people to take the step and, even borrow from a library, or whatever you need to do. Borrow from a friend if they've got it and they've told you about it, and ask if you can borrow it, or borrow it from a library, and just take the step. Just take the first step toward freedom and beauty and a life with reduced suffering. Step by step, the suffering reduces, the happiness increases. And just take those steps if you can, if you feel inspired to do that. If you've suffered in the last year, through the global event that has taken place, if you've suffered, if you are struggling right now, you don't have to suffer. The truth is always exquisite and beautiful, and the truth frees you. It fills you and it completely frees you. And so there are the most incredible teachers in this book who are part of it. And yes, I would just urge anybody, find out who you are and live your life from that place, and then you'll know what life is really all about.
So more success to you, Rhonda. And what you said just now is very important. Joy should be the measure of success. Otherwise,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not success if you don't have
yes,
joy.
true.
Joy is the only measure of success. Of course, along with the progressive realization of worthy goals, the ability to love, have compassion, but joy, which is already there. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
thank you very much.